Welcome to this edition of Real Talk with Sam Holcman. I'm Sam Holcman, and today we have three topics that are closely related. For those of you that are new to Real Talk, episodes are based on real-world practice-based enterprise architecture, business architecture, and the soft skills required in enterprise and business architect experiences. Thank you for tuning in. In today's edition of Real Talk, we'll begin by discussing the concept of integration versus interfacing. The second concept is architecture certification from two different points of view that you see from various sources. One is certification based on passing a multiple guess exam, as I like to call it. And I know that may sound a bit harsh, and that's why I'm smiling. The other is approach to certification that is practice-based certification. The third topic is looking at two very different concepts that seem to have a significant amount of confusion. The third topic is activities such as training or certification or actual professional practice based on a base of knowledge, a body of knowledge as it's sometimes referred to, and we will contrast this with training, certification, and professional practice based on a methodology. I hope you find this broadcast of interest to you. Let's begin with integration versus interfacing. Interfacing is two or more components that are directed at a given outcome that need to consistently communicate with each other. An action in one component may or may not be automatic and consistent in another component without some deliberate action. Synchronization of these actions is required. Interfacing takes two or more items that may or may not be the same, may or may not have the same purpose, and somehow links them together. For example, plugging something into an electrical wall socket, such as an appliance. You have to plug in the electrical appliance that interfaces with the socket that's in the wall. That's the concept of interfacing. Integration is all components sharing a consistent set of actions, activities, definitions, and understanding. An action in one component can be traced and transparently observed and verified in another component. There's no concept of synchronization of actions that are required for interfacing. One is not right and one is not wrong. They're just very different, and when it comes to the fields of business architecture or enterprise architecture, this is something that you, as the professional practitioner, needs to examine closely when you're looking at tools, techniques, processes, methods, certification, training, and of course, doing some actual work. We suggest the objective is to enable business or mission strategy and not worry about interfacing and maintaining a consistency between disparate products and services and maintaining these disparate products. Moving on to certification. There are actually two very different approaches to training organizations have to promote certification. One is what I call quiz-based or exam-based certification. And whether you look online or whether you go to a course or whether you use one of those very quick $10 or so exam-based approaches promoted on the internet to provide certification in your chosen field, a quiz-based certification is designed to do what? Help you pass an exam. That's the end game. A friend of mine is a private pilot. And when he passed his instrument rating for his pilot license, he said to me, one of the things I found interesting was in order to get an instrument-rated pilot's license, the exam criteria was you needed to get 70% correct on the exam. Wouldn't it be of interest to you to know which 30% that individual got wrong? Yes, much more is required than passing a multiple guess exam to be a professional. With a quiz-based exam approach to the field of enterprise architecture or business architecture, the end objective is passing an exam. A practice-based certification is quite different. The objective of a practice-based approach to certification is demonstrating the skills and competencies to perform as a business architect or an enterprise architect through actual activities and practices. It can begin and should begin with a classroom-based approach where the seasoned practice-based instructor is not reading a script, but is actually instructing the attendees on how to perform the various tasks to build an enterprise architecture or build a business architecture. Guided mentoring, do by showing and learning. Exam-based certification approaches and practice-based certification approaches, as you can see, are quite different. And they can lead to very different outcomes. If you are practicing in the field or thinking about practicing in these fields, most people would benefit, as you can see, from a practice-based approach. Of course, it's up to you on how you would want to move forward. This brings us to the third topic of this broadcast. The third topic is the concept of a methodology and the concept of a knowledge base, a body of knowledge, as some people refer to this particular area. A methodology is a proven design series of steps or processes to address a certain outcome. A knowledge base is usually a set of processes and approaches that may represent various segments of practices that are out there, or a collection of actions or processes. The basis of understanding of a methodology comes from a solid theoretical base that is then field executed, tested, optimized, and verified through a series of processes that produce a certain outcome. An example I often use is a recipe that guides you how to make something like a chocolate cake. And the recipe is field tested, optimized, verified, and is geared toward making a chocolate cake right out of the gate. The tools, techniques, processes, methods associated with that outcome are aligned and integrated to achieve that outcome. A knowledge base, a body of knowledge, can be a collection of processes that may be of interest, and it's more like an encyclopedia. Using a similar example, it may talk about what dough is, what various types of chocolates exist, what the uses of ovens are, etc. If you want to actually produce something like a chocolate cake, or an enterprise architecture, or a business architecture, remember the concept of a recipe. We need to have a proven recipe. Once you've produced a good chocolate cake, you can begin by adding your own creative flair. Add mints, change the type of chocolate, use different pans, etc. With a knowledge base, there are numerous concepts, actions, ideas, components, which you need to possibly pick from out of the gate and put together to produce an outcome that you hope will meet your intended result. Am I actually going to get a tasty chocolate cake with these set of actions, or am I going to have a mess on my hands? You need a methodology, a series of activities that are consistent, traceable, verifiable, from action to action, that leads to a specific outcome. Practice this a few times, and then test variations to your recipe or not. Unfortunately for me, my wife is a very good cook and baker. And one of the things that she makes is a great chocolate cake that our dinner guests just cannot get enough of. And she's always asked for the recipe. When she provides the recipe, she often gets the reaction, "Is this all there is?" Her reaction is, "Yes, that is it." What she does not say is how many years she spent tinkering with the various things to get this result. It's easy to do something hard. It's very hard to do something simple and make it look almost effortless. Our intent in this episode of Real Talk is to bring clarity to these three items that have confused a lot of people. We're continually asked about these items in our training courses, in our workshops, and our consulting activities. We hope this has added to your understanding of these particular topics. Thank you for listening to this episode of Real Talk. I can be reached through email, and my email is sam@eacoe.org, sam at Enterprise Architecture Center of Excellence.org, or equivalency for business architecture, sam at bacoe.org, sam at the Business Architecture Center of Excellence.org. It would be my pleasure to dialogue with you. You may or may not have worked with the rest. Now please join us so we can make you the best. Until next time, stay well, stay healthy, and go out and practice real enterprise architecture, real business architecture. Thank you for your attention.